this, but I'm just going to be real here. You have a lot of people who feel that because they hang around a lot of, for example, black people, because I know someone personally like this, because they're around a lot of black people, they feel that they're an ally for black people. What I'm saying here is you cannot say that you are an ally of a particular group, okay? Because you don't have the trust yet. For example, let's look at it in times of war. Country A cannot say that they're an ally to country B. Country B must establish country A as an ally because they have to have trust in that individual, in that country first. What I'm saying is I can't sit up here and say that I'm an ally to this group of people and they don't even know anything about me or they don't trust me. So when this individual claims to be an ally, and it's sad to say it, but when she claims to be an ally, she does not have the trust of the people that she claims to be aligned with. Additionally, just because one person considers to be an ally, that does not mean that every person of that marginalized identity considers them to be an ally. For example, this person claimed to be the ally of every minority in the school building, but every minority doesn't know you. They don't feel you. They don't trust you. So you can't sit up here and profess that every person of color respects you as an ally. You can't say that. Trust is something earned through concerted action, not given simply because our actions in a particular area of context. Case in point, if it is Black History Month, and I only pick February to celebrate people of African descent, I'm not an ally. If you are celebrating people of African descent and acknowledging them every day, that makes you an ally versus picking one particular event. You're showing that concentrated effort, and people see your effort and they accept your effort and they acknowledge your effort. You coming to work the first day of Black History Month and saying, hey, I'm wearing my red, black, and green. You doing that one day is not establishing coming to work the first day of Black History Month really and saying, hey, doing that. Or for example, I'm wearing my red, black, and green. You doing that one day is not established coming to work the first day of Black History Month really saying, hey, that one time to say, for example, I'm wearing my red, black, and green. It makes you like you doing that one day is not established coming to work the first day of Black History Month really saying, hey, that one time to say, for example, I'm wearing my red, black, and green. It makes you like you doing that one day is not established coming to work the first day of Black History Month really saying, hey, that one time to say, for example, I'm wearing my red, black, and green. Last time I checked, it makes you like you doing that one day is not established. Black History Month, hey, that one time, for example, I'm wearing my red, black, and last time I checked, makes you like you doing that one day is not established. Black History Month, hey, that one time, for example, I'm wearing my red, black, and last time I checked, makes you like you doing that one day is not established. Black History Month, hey, that one time, for example, I'm wearing my red, black, and last time I checked, makes you like you doing that one day is not established. Black History Month, hey, that one time, for example, I'm wearing my red, black, and last time I checked, makes you like you doing that one day is not established. Black History Month, hey, that one time, for example, I'm wearing my red, black, and last time I checked, makes you like you doing that one day is not established. Black History Month, hey, that one time, for example, I'm wearing my red, black, and last time I checked, makes you like you doing that one day is not established. A number of years, and I was getting paid more than her, I should still number of years. You can't sit up here and say I support. I should still people, but then when a Black Lives Matter thing pops up, oh no, I can't support that. No. Those who are oppressed and marginalized in our society do not get to take breaks and vacations from being discriminated against. No, it doesn't happen. I remember I was telling some students during World War I, on Christmas Day, the Allies and the Germans had a ceasefire and they played football literally in no man's land. You don't believe me? Look it up. Well, I'm sorry, but in this country, the oppressor does not take a break from oppressing people who are minority. Doesn't happen. So if you claim to be down, you can't sit and say, I'm going to march with you on Friday, but I can't march with you any other day because it won't look. No, it doesn't happen like that. You can't sit up here and say, I'm with you, but then you're taking a break. Or I'm with you, but I'm taking a break because my privilege is being threatened. I mean, I see it every day. I see it at work. I see it in the community. I see it on TV. I see it in the media. I see it everywhere. I see a lot of people picking and choosing when they want to be an ally to somebody. You can't sit up here and say, I support LGBTQs, but then when your child becomes LGBTQ, oh, it's a problem all of a sudden. It doesn't work. You see, if you truly want to act in solidarity, you cannot simply retreat in your privilege when you just don't want to engage. Now, I'm going to say something to you. And when this person made this comment, it really changed my whole outlook on this person. This individual is white, and they came to me and said, I know I have privilege, and I use my privilege when I need to. And I looked at the person like, wow, okay, that's kind of a messed up thing to say as we're having a discussion about fighting privilege. And then there was a situation that came about in regards to a job. And this person used their privilege to make the minorities or the people of color who were applying for the job stand out as if they were not credible for the particular job. They used their privilege to get the position. That privilege is a dangerous thing. I remember I told someone, I said, you will know who your real ally is when they don't care about their privilege. Because I find it real strange that people say, yeah, I'm down with your cause. I'm down with what you're doing. I feel what you're saying. I'm with you, brother, or I'm with you, sister. But as soon as their privilege is threatened, you look around and nowhere to be found. You got to watch that. This is one of the hardest things for people to be an ally to realize. Because, see, when you claim to be down with a particular group that's being oppressed, your privilege is on the line. Your privilege is being sacrificed for the equality and for the equability of the individuals that you claim that you're allied with. A true ally will lay out their privilege on the altar and have it sacrificed. That's a real ally. Versus individuals who claim that they're with you, but when they see that privilege threatened and it disappear, Sometimes people don't have the energy to respond to certain things because their privilege is being threatened. For example, I'm with you, but if my racist uncle says something about you, I gotta side with my racist uncle. No, but I thought we were cool. I thought you were my ally. I remember when I was younger, I had a guy I went to school with in the 6th grade. He would always say racist comments every day at lunch. I mean, he would drop the N-word. He would say racist jokes. So one day I went home and I mentioned it to my parents. One day it was Grandparents' Day, and this kid came. I mean, he claimed that we were friends because I addressed the behavior to him. And I said, hey, man, you need to really stop saying this racist stuff. If you claim to be friends, you shouldn't say stuff like this. See, I was in the 6th grade. I was a little timid back then, but at the same time, I told the kid, hey, chill out with all that racist talk. He said he'd stop. Fast forward, Grandparents' Day shows up. This kid says a racist joke in front of his grandparents. His whole family laughs at me when he says a joke. And of course, they chimed in as well, too. So immediately I went home, told my father about it. He told him, of course, let's put it like this. Tyrone Classic said some things to me that made the timid side of me go away. And I had to handle that situation, the next day. Right there, I knew that privilege was a dangerous thing. This kid claimed to be cool, claimed to be friends, but when he was around his family, he went back to his old racist self. And that's what I'm talking about. When people switch like that, they're no ally to you. I mean, then I'm looking on, then it mentions here about social media, where you got that one person that you thought was down with your cause or down with your faith or down with your organization, but then you scroll through their Facebook timeline, you see all kind of crazy stuff, all kind of stuff that make people like you, people that look like you, the butt of a joke, or the object of repute, or something that's dashly, and they on their page, but then again they claim, I'm your friend. For example, oh, it's okay, I got a black friend, I can say such and such. I mean, I got some coworkers at work right now who really stepped up recently because someone claimed that they feel they can say certain things, but they said, no, you can't say those things because I can't say those things because it's not right. So shout out to those coworkers. Y'all know who y'all are. People of color have no choice but to resist racism every single day of our lives. Women have no choice but to weather the storm of misogyny every day of their lives. Differently abled people have no choice but to deal with and respond to ableism every single day of our lives. If you have privilege, you don't understand what that's like. Like, for example, someone made the comment, I never owned slaves before. So why are you talking to me about slavery? Why is it my fault? Well, first of all, that's a privileged comment. Of course, no one's saying that you own slaves. You don't. However, you do reap the benefits from people who own slaves. You do. So you can't so you can't sit up here and tell someone to forget about that. The fact that you're telling someone to forget or get over slavery, that's a problem. Get over sexism. Get over classism. Get over religious persecution. To get over disability issues or discrimination. That is privilege. The fact that we can't discuss, or I'm sorry, the fact that you want someone to forget something or to get over something that hasn't been addressed, that's an issue. But if it's on the other side of the coin, then you're going to address it. Let me say something or let me do something, it's a problem. Falling back into your privilege, especially when you are most needed, is not being an ally in solidarity. Case in point, you're sitting on the front line. The people who you claim you down with are turning around looking for you to back them up, but you're nowhere to be found. That's not an ally. Because see, some people are allies in name only. I got your back. But then when the fight's hitting, they gone. They tucking their tail and running. I got a friend of mine right now, a very close friend of mine. He's not my friend, he's my brother. One thing I will say, whenever we were growing up and I was in a fight or he was in a fight, we were right there back to back. But you got some people that claim that they down with you or that they're, that they got love for you, but when it comes time for them to show up, where are they? Shoot, if they not there, they're probably on the other side helping your oppressor out. And I've seen that a lot too recently. You got people saying, I got you, or I'm there for you, but they on the other side. I saw a whole room full of that. Next, allies educate themselves constantly. Standing in solidarity with a marginalized or oppressed person or people means that we need to know our stuff. Now, my notes say another word, but I can't say that live on air. But you got to know your stuff. And knowing your stuff is knowing the people that you're rolling with. I can't sit up here and say that I'm an ally with this person and I know nothing about them. You got to educate yourself on the group that's being marginalized or oppressed. Know what their struggle is. I'm sorry, let me retract that. Understand what their struggle is, because you can never know fully what someone's struggle is. I remember, and it cracks me up every time I think about this. This individual who was not black looked at a black student and said, I understand the black man's plight. I'm sorry. He said, I know the black man's plight. No, you don't. That's like me going to a woman who's pregnant and saying, I know how you feel. No, you got to understand that. And understanding is based on two things. One, education, and two, realizing that I don't fully know everything that you're going through. However, I respect and support what you're going through. I mean, there's no way that a white woman can know what it's like to be a black man. No. There's no way for me to know what it's like to be a white woman. I don't know that. However, I can understand that you're going through something, and I can be there to support you. We need to educate ourselves about the issues facing those with whom we want to be allied and with and about. We need to know the history of their oppression. We need to understand and educate ourselves on the history of their oppression. Know where it came from, why it's happening, know what it looks like, how to stop it, how to prevent it, how to make others aware. That's how you make yourselves educated, making yourselves an ally, how you can understand someone's plight. Note, I can never know what you're going through because I haven't experienced it. However, I can understand what it looks like. I can be aware of what it looks like. I can assist you in stopping it based on my resources. That's what that means with the educational piece. I remember I sat there and I was talking to a brother I work with, and I said, man, one thing I don't like is when you have people who are educating students that are different than them, whether it be religion or race or whatever, and they're looking at them as if they're exhibits at a zoo. I can't stand that. I saw some kids who were doing some things that were cultural, and I saw a person who was not educated in their culture sitting there observing them as if they were a specimen at a zoo. And I'm like, look at that. That's crazy. And then they were actually being treated as such. I mean, they were being dangled out, like putting on exhibit. I remember a friend of mine, her name, I don't want to say her. Well, I'm not going to say her name live on the air because she might, I want that. But I remember we went to Shawnee Mission, I want to say it was South and Shawnee Mission East. We went to Shawnee Mission South. And when we went there, we were with this group of high school kids. And of course, being an elementary school kid, you're hanging around some high school kids, you're thinking, wow, okay, these kids are cool. So we're going all through the school or whatnot, and then the guy asked our names again, and we told him our names. I told him my name. My name is Tyrone, and he started laughing. I said, "That's y'all's names?" And he started, because all the kids in my group, our names were were names that were typically aligned with black students or black people. So this guy that we thought was cool took us to a room. He knocked on the door and asked his teacher, "Hey, can I come in and introduce my kids to you all?" And the teacher said, "Yeah." So we all walked in, and he lined us up right in front of the class and said, "Hey, y'all, this is Tyrone." And then he pronounced my friends' names. And the way he pronounced them was you could tell he was poking fun. And when he did that, the whole class started laughing. I looked over, and the adult in charge was laughing as well, too. And as a young kid, that really bothered me to the core. And the rest of the field trip, I was very uncomfortable. I didn't feel right. And like I was telling someone, at a young age, I was aware of how people could misuse their privilege by trying to claim that they were an ally. Like I said, as a kid, this whole time I thought this guy was being helpful and he was being an ally and being a friend and really looking out for my well-being. But near the end of the trip, he sat there and paraded us around as if we were, a joke based on what our names were in front of his class and in front of people who looked like him. And that always bothered me. And as a teacher, I always made it my duty not to make a kid feel like I felt, because it was obvious he wasn't educated on who we were. I mean, you don't know these kids, but yet and still you felt it was your obligation to make fun of their names like that. Because see, if you really educated yourself on what our names meant, because I guarantee you, every kid up in there, although our names were ethnic, they meant something. Our names actually meant something. Our parents gave us those names for a reason, because they actually meant something positive. Because I'm a firm believer, when you call somebody something by name, it gives power to their spirit. But see, he didn't know that. He thought that, oh, okay, we got some black kids here from the inner city, from Hartman. We're going to make fun of their names because we're out here in Overland Park. I didn't like that. And that's how I took it. Because me being 7 years old, seeing a room full of privileged people laughing at me and the adult allowing it to happen, of course I'm going to feel about that a certain way. One of the most important types of education is listening. But there are endless resources. Not only, if you're not able to listen to the person, you can go get books, read blogs, media outlets, go to speakers, go to pull up videos, go to seminars to educate you on what is oppressing the marginalized group. What you should not do, though, is expect those with whom you want to ally yourself to do the research for you or to teach you. No. If this person is being oppressed, it's not their job to teach you about their oppression. So, I mean, if they want to teach you, that's up to them. You shouldn't expect them to teach you. For example, y'all gonna flip when you see this. I saw someone sit up here and just sit down and say, okay, tell me why you feel like you're being oppressed. No, that's putting somebody out there on the spot. You should make yourself aware of their oppression. It's not their responsibility to come to you and say, let me educate you on why I'm being oppressed. First of all, it's a trust factor. No one's going to just come out at you and say, this is why I'm being oppressed, unless you're the one doing the oppressing. However, if you're claiming to be an ally, you shouldn't expect them to be responsible to educate you on why they feel like they're being oppressed. You should listen. And when they decide to drop some knowledge or perspective, you take that. But don't go to them and ask. If someone's talking to you and they're speaking and they're dropping that knowledge, then that's them giving it to you. You shouldn't go up there and ask them. I'm not going to go up to a group of women and say, why do y'all feel like y'all being oppressed? Because it's going to come off as if I'm being disrespectful. Now, I'm going to take a brief break, and I'm going to come back with a big one that we deal with. So Facebook Live, hang in there. Radio, I'll be back.
Hi, this is Max Groove, and you're listening to KUAW.
KUAW, knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. Kansas City's first urban community radio station. Tycon Company, LLC, specializes in a wide range of construction services, which includes the removal and replacement of concrete curbs, sidewalk, driveway, and paving. They pride themselves in the quality of their service, but more importantly, with the quickness in which they provide those services. Their primary goal and objective is to achieve 100% customer satisfaction, and they won't settle for anything less. Their crews travel within a 100-mile radius of the Kansas City, Missouri metropolitan area, which includes cities on both sides of the Kansas and Missouri state line. Tycon Company, LLC, 4435 Prospect Avenue, Kansas City, Missouri, 64130, 816-921-0473. Tycon Company, LLC, quality with quickness. Proud sponsor of Wake Up KC.
Moreland James Bank and Trust is a proud sponsor of KUAW Radio. At Moreland James Bank and Trust, we believe that an understanding of financial values sets individuals up for a strong future. Whether you want to talk about checking and savings accounts, review lending alternatives, or discuss starting your own business, we have the right people to listen and advise. Visit us at mjbtrc.com to get started today. Member of FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Now on the air in Kansas City, the Cheryl Underwood Show.
We are proud to be part of the KUAW family.
The Cheryl Underwood.
All right, we're back. This is Tyrone Gathers Jr., your host of the Source of the Inkwell, knowledge, understanding, and wisdom, Kansas City's community radio station. Okay. You can check out this broadcast a number of ways. You can get us on kuaw.org or on your TuneIn app on your mobile device. Type in KUAW. Or on Facebook Live, KUAW-LPFM 98.5. You can call us at 816-599-6893 or email us at kuaw985@gmail.com. My show today is talking about how one can actually be an ally, how you can identify someone that is an ally. I originally had a guest today. I had a real good guest. However, I was notified today that she had a death in the family and she could not make it, but she will reschedule. So prayers go out to her and her family and condolences. So now, back to our broadcast. I left off on ways you can identify if someone is an ally. The next one I want to talk about is you can't be an ally in isolation. You can't be an ally in isolation. To a certain degree, it is entirely possible for someone to stand in solidarity with a group of marginalized people, even if they have no relationship with said people. For example, if I don't know any black people, for example, then I could still be an ally. If I don't know any people who identify as LGBT and Q, I can still be an ally. If I don't know any, which is rare, if I don't know any women, I can still be an ally to women. So not knowing someone, you can still be an ally. At a surface level, you can support the cause and advocate in your community for equal rights or speak out against oppression. For example, I don't know any Syrians. However, I can still be an ally to the individuals who are being oppressed over there. Case in point, we had a tornado that hit down in Joplin. I don't know anyone who lives in Joplin. However, I still support it. So you can still support someone if you don't know them. You can still support their cause. We have a lot of people who are running for president. You don't know Bernie Sanders, but you're still supporting his cause. You're still allying yourself to Bernie Sanders. Now, but solidarity in total isolation lacks one vital thing: accountability. This is particularly important for people of privilege, but really any person who wants to act in solidarity needs to recognize that allyship cannot exist in isolation. In fact, some of the most important accountability comes from a relationship that is not a friendship. Now, I say this to say that you have some people that want to talk about unity. Yeah, we need to be unified. We need to be together. However, you're never around. You're never around when it's time to be unified. Or you're talking about being united, but you're the main one causing division through your isolation. You need to be present. Your allyship needs to be present in some shape, form, or fashion. Like I said, if you're sitting there quiet, or if you're sitting there in your own little bubble, you're not allying yourself with anyone. You got to be out there on the front line in some shape, form, or fashion, whether it's physical or emotional or spiritual, something. Because those who you claim to be allied with need to feel your presence in some shape, form, or fashion. You can't be locked off in your room claiming that you support all these groups, but they don't know or they don't experience your support. See, some people are allies by name only. And I know so many people who are like this. They claim to be down with your cause, but you know, when it's time to step up, they're not there. I'm going to say this too. Wearing a t-shirt does not make you down with a group. It doesn't. It does not. There's a particular t-shirt that I have that is, it sends a strong message, a very strong message. And that strong message is from the voice of individuals who are oppressed. And someone came to me and said, "Hey, I like that shirt you were wearing. Can I buy a copy of that shirt?" Sure. So I hooked up with the person that made my shirt, made the transaction. That person wore that shirt one time. And when that person wore that shirt, they wore it zipped up. And I'm like, well, if you're really down with the cause, then you would show your support. You wouldn't hide it. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I think I'm gonna just stop right there because it's a little that particular topic is kind of close to home because someone sat there and tried to claim that they were down and they were just okay. I'm gonna just move on. I'm gonna move on. Number 7, allies don't need to be in the spotlight. That's a good one. That's like when someone posted on Facebook. They said if you're helping someone out, you don't gotta post every time you help someone out or give money or support. Or another one I know in the Bible it says that do you want your rewards from man or do you want your rewards from God? I mean, you got a lot of people that do things just to be out there in the spotlight. And helping someone does not garner you to be in the spotlight. So what I'm saying is, and I'm not talking about everybody because everyone's not like this, but most people, when they're helping out folks, sometimes you helping out the person or what you're doing is eclipsing what the real issue is. Okay, this man is homeless, but you giving this man your coat, people aren't really focused on the fact that this man is homeless. They're focused more on you giving the man your coat. So I mean, kind of think about that. Or I work in this school where a lot of the kids are low income and impoverished. However, you're not capitalizing the issue that these kids are going through. You're putting the spotlight on you going up in there and working with those kids. I remember I saw someone take a picture of a guy and say, this is such and such. And then they talked about the man's plight and then said, because I gave this man this, I'm helping him out. Really, you're embarrassing the person because I looked at the picture and the guy was sitting there like I really don't want to be in his picture. I mean, you should make. I mean, I remember my pastor who passed away years ago, Earl Abel, Reverend Earl Abel. He said, "I got saved to know Jesus Christ, not to be a celebrity." I mean, when you're allying yourself with someone, you should do it to help that person, to assist that person in a manner to which they can gain some sense of equability, not to make yourself, put a feather in your cap, or to make yourself, a celebrity, so to speak. I can't help but to acknowledge the irony of writing this piece. How people like to spotlight themselves, helping out people of oppression, but when they really need your help, you're nowhere to be found. True solidarity means supporting the work of those you're allying yourself with, not solely creating a platform for your own voice and work. So if I'm really helping kids who are low income, I'm actually there with them, working with them, helping them, not creating a platform to make myself look good. That's not what we do. If I'm saying that I'm really I'm down with helping out migrant families, I'm not sitting up here trying to make a platform to put money in my pocket. Like I know some people are sitting up here talking about Kanye and Joel Osteen. I mean, it is what it is. But I mean, if you're sitting up here trying to win souls over, why are you doing everything that was going on that particular day, selling the tickets and selling $100 T-shirts? Now, check this out. I remember I went with a friend of mine to see a guy who was preaching. He calls himself an apostle, right? I walk up in there, and this man was selling bottles of water. Nothing wrong with selling bottled water. However, if you're selling a bottled water for an astronomical amount of money because you said you prayed over it and if someone drinks it, you see what I'm saying? That's what we're talking about. I'm trying to ally myself with the unsaved, but at the same time, I'm making money off of them. Kind of like back when Martin Luther went against the Catholic Church back in the 16th century. He said, and they still do it today. You go to the reverend and say, "Hey, can I need to be prayed for. Well, how much money you got? You know, I need to be blessed, or I need to be forgiven. Well, you got to pay for that. That's you can't sit up here and say I'm with you. Let me pray with you, but you got to pay. And then all that money you making is making yourself look good. Like that video with the pastor when he was sitting down in court and they were asking him, well, what's this house for? What's this airplane for? And you were trying, you can't justify that. I remember there's a church that's local. Well, I shouldn't say local. It's not that far from Kansas City. The pastor has a jet. And this man said in church, I don't know why y'all asked me about my jet. If I'm out flying around and preaching the word of God, you shouldn't worry about what that jet's for. No. If that jet was paid for by the church's money, then they got to say so. They do. I almost got up there and said, hey, let me ask you a question. If sister such and such had a sick relative and she couldn't afford airfare, could she use the plane? If you're the only one using the plane, don't sit up there and say it's the church's plane. It's not. It's yours, and you use the church's money. You use your privilege to take advantage of the oppressed to build up your platform. That's what you're doing. And you see this a lot with people who are sick or people who are seeking some kind of assistance. You got all these organizations that are popping up saying, oh, we're with you. We're collecting money for you, but you don't even see it. They don't even see it. You got people who are still struggling, who still have cancer, but you got CEOs of these organizations who are making six figures, but you just buried someone that had cancer. There's nothing that can help you out. But what do? They send someone to you to talk to you, to make you smile. But they're not doing anything for your cure. You see? Or when they were talking about and I don't want to pick on Joel Osteen, but there are other churches like that where there are situations where there's a natural disaster, but they don't open up their doors. I know that churches are a membership, but then again, they go outside that. If you're a religious or a spiritual organization, last time I checked, every human being possesses a spirit. So if you are a spiritual organization, you're there for everyone, not just those who give money to you. You got people sitting up here, you got pastors sitting up here dressed as pimps, sitting up here getting money from folk. You got superintendents sitting up here pimping folk. I mean, it trips me out when you sit up here and you see school superintendents, and I'm not talking about the Kansas City, I'm just talking about in general. There's one particular city in particular that I'm talking about, and I say it's in the South. I'm not going to say the district because you know exactly who I'm talking about. You're sitting up here saying, hey, I'm down with these kids, and I'm all about helping out these kids, but they barely see you. They barely see you. Your door is shut. You're not up in these schools. Who are you? You just someone getting a check. Don't sit up here and say that you're down for a cause, but you only show up to get your money. There's an organization that I called. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Some brothers of mine and a sister went out and played golf at a local golf course about 2 years ago. We got followed throughout the golf course. We got harassed by the staff, and when we addressed the situation, they said, "Yeah, we'll offer you all a free round," but they didn't address the individual that was prejudiced towards us. I reached out to the NAACP Kansas City chapter, and I got some flack for putting it on social media, but it's real talk. I reached out to the president's office. I didn't get a phone. I didn't get a call back. Turns out the local president is a pastor here in the city, and I had to go through my aunt, who said, "Look, my nephew needs help with a situation." So we finally link up, and he says, "I will have my office call you." It's 3 years later, have yet to get a phone call back. I even called the national office and got all kind of disrespect. It was so bad I had to call another local office in another city to get someone to get a phone call at the national office. But I find it real strange that when you call an organization like that for help, they're nowhere to be found. They don't answer the phone. There's no call waiting. The line's busy. It's always something. But I get emails to this day asking for money. So you want to ask me for money, you're claiming that you're about my plight, about my oppression. But when I call you and say, hey, look, we got discriminated against, and you don't answer the phone over here, I get bounced around over here, I get disrespected at your national office, but you hit me up monthly for money? Now, I remember a couple years ago, I know it was proposition that I sit down with the president of the NAACP chapter here. I think I'm going to do that. See, I mean, and it's not to start a fight or nothing like that. I want to sit down and see how. I want people to know how you are there for them. How is the Kansas City chapter there for the people in Kansas City? Because last time I checked, when people call, they get no answer. You know, you got Jesse Jackson, and you got I'm glad. I'm gonna go ahead. You got Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and then you got Crum, the man that was Trayvon Martin's lawyer. They always pop up when they think it's time for some money, and don't do jack squat. You got Crum, who him and his law firm, they sat there and represented multiple brothers and sisters who was slain by police, and ain't one not they haven't. Their winning record is not that good. But every time someone gets shot, you see them sitting right there, and they're sitting up there speaking on behalf of that family. And I'm like, wow, you don't know what's going on. You didn't do if you're an ally, let's go back. Did you educate yourself on that oppression, on that plight? No. We need to stop aligning ourselves with people who say they are allies, but aligning ourselves with people who are actually proving themselves with action of being an ally. An ally is not a noun. Being an ally is a verb. It's an action word. If you claim to be down with a group that's being oppressed, that should be seen. That should be felt. That should be experienced. I should know your allyship based on your works. What they say, faith without works is dead. If you're sitting here saying, I got your back, and I fall backwards and I hit the ground, oh man, I just learned a lesson. This goes for teachers in the classroom. This goes for politicians. I'm down with that whole thing about senators doing 2 terms, because we got a congressman locally that really ain't did much of nothing, but a lot of folk. But that's what they do. If you a preacher up there preaching, if you just someone claiming to be a friend, you got to put some action behind that. You do. And if you're taking somebody's money, that money needs to go to the people and not in your pocket. You got folks in up here making 6 figures off the plight of others. You worse than the oppressor. You sitting up here saying, I got you, I'm down for you, but you taking the money that we giving you and you putting it in your pocket, and we up here struggling. And the oppressor sitting there still doing what they gotta do. That's like saying, that's like putting me in a meat jumpsuit and saying, go ahead and walk down that street, mailman. Them dogs ain't gonna bother you. Man, but I'm paying you to put me in a meat suit because you got me convinced. Man, persuasion is a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing. And if you got somebody who can talk some talk, but they not walking it, and you still support having that person speak for you, man, y'all. We talked about Crum in the day, and all those attorneys that sit up here and try to make money off the plight of black folks. This woman's son was slain in the street by the police, and all you doing is making money. That's all you doing. That's all you doing. Because I'm telling you right now, I'm sitting up here looking at all the brothers and sisters who were killed by the police. And the police were in the wrong. And them lawyers. And the sad part about it is the common denominator is probably one particular law group. Because I know for a fact that the Crum law firms sat there and represented a few of these individuals. And nothing happened. Nothing. But embarrassment. I mean, it was to the point where I'm like, dang, man, are they paying you to mess up? I'm serious. I'm like, I grew up with attorneys. Got them in my family. My friends are attorneys. I'm like, wow, their articulation was on point. You're on a national stage and you sound like you just got out of law school. I'm sorry, you sound like a clerk. I got kids in my class that are more articulate than that guy. Hey, look, that's just my opinion. All I'm saying in the end, if someone claims to be an ally, hold them accountable. Have them prove it. Have them prove it with their support, with their visibility, with their finances if they're available, with their presence. Because, it's one thing for someone to say, my prayers are with you. That's fine. However, last time I checked, you got to put some work behind that. People think that God's a genie. You rub a lamp, he pop out, give you what you want. No. God also gives you the ability to do what you got to do as well, too, because his spirit rests within you as well. Up next, we got the Lene Gray Show. I don't want to take any time from my sister because I know she got some word for you, but I'm going to end with this. Hold allies accountable, because when it's time to fight, you need to see not just an individual next to you, but a force, an individual working with you. And if you're lucky, an individual working for you to help liberate you of whatever oppressive shackles are trying to come and entangle you. In the Source of the Inkwell, education overflows. And when it flows like ink. And let it rest permanently. God bless. See you next week.
Hi, this is Max Groove, and you're listening to KUAW.
KUAW, knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. Kansas City's first urban community radio station. Tycon Company, LLC.